Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this session about new research from Bain Company in partnership with Google. My name is Karen Budell, and I lead content marketing strategy for Google Marketing Platform. And today, I'm really excited to walk you through new research into how leading marketers are using technology to drive business growth, and how really today, it's all a matter of time. So in this session, I'll cover some key research findings. I'll share how leaders are doing it differently. And I'll also highlight a few Google customer stories to bring our insights to life. So how do leading marketers do it? That was the one question that really spurred our research and partnership with Bain. And to answer that, we talked to marketing and ad tech decision makers around the world. We asked them where they face challenges and where they find opportunities in using data and technology. So as I share the research today, I hope that you'll find a few key stats that you can bring back to work next week, maybe bolster some team conversations. But if we're really successful today, then you'll go home with a few key strategies to help you win customers at the right moment and redefine time. So what does that mean when I say redefine time? Well, we live in a day and age where there is no shortage of information or data available to us. We can navigate life from the palm of our hands or just with our voice. But as much information or data that's available, doesn't it still feel like we just don't have enough time? Or if we do have the time, don't you still feel like you can't get things done fast enough? Those are things that we feel not only in our lives as consumers, but that we also feel at work and in our businesses. For example, this is a global event, and we have people joining us from all over the world. How many of you today traveled for more than 2 or 3 hours to come to San Jose and join us? And I'm not counting those Bay Area super commuters, right? If you're like me, you probably consider yourself an impatient traveler, because many of us have a right now mindset and we expect to get things done instantly. I know for one that when I call a taxi or a ride share, I use my app the moment I'm ready to walk out the door, and I expect that vehicle to be there instantly. Or many of you may have even booked your hotel en route to your destination. And how often do we find ourselves not only searching for a restaurant reservation that's near us, but one that's open now? Well, we've seen these changes in how consumers are thinking about time, and that shows up in Google search data. Search interest in open now has more than tripled in the past 2 years. So maybe it's no surprise that the leading marketers are the brands that are winning because they're thinking about time in new ways. Now, getting the right message to the right person at the right time, it's almost a marketing cliche, right? But what our research with Bain showed us is that the brands making the biggest leaps forward, specifically the top 20% of performers, they found a new way to use technology to their advantage, and they're redoubling their focus on time. Now, of course, the right message, the right creative, that's still very critical. That's where a lot of you all do your magic, right? That's the art part of marketing. But technology has that advantage because it can help you with the timing. And so that's what we're talking about when we say leaders are redefining time. And with that, I want to dig into the research that we did with Bain a little bit more. So we worked with Bain to conduct a global study, and we talked to nearly 1,700 marketing and advertising, media and technology decision makers in North America, Europe, Australia, and Japan. And in addition to that quantitative study, they also conducted nearly 40 interviews with marketers. So building upon Bain's ongoing leaders versus laggards research, they identified those marketers who were outperforming their peers. And I do want to take a special note to mention that due to some macroeconomic trends in Europe and a smaller sample size in Australia, it was difficult to put all of those respondents in the same playing field. So as I talk about leaders or leading marketers, please note that I'm only referring to those marketers in North America. And those leaders, again, are defined as the top 20% of performers. And that's based on a composite score of self-reported revenue and market share growth. And specifically what we saw with the leaders was that they had an average revenue growth of 14% and an average market share growth of 13%. The laggards in this study represent the bottom 20% of performers. But before we get into what those leaders are doing differently, we still wanted to see, what do marketers have in common around the globe? And so when we looked at all of those responses in aggregate, we found that marketers around the world share one thing in common. The number one priority for them over the next 3 years to help them achieve their goals is gaining a better understanding of their customers and a better ability to reach the right people. That's a top priority, and in fact, it was ranked more important than integrating their technology platforms. And if you can believe it, they even ranked it higher than hiring new talent. As we got deeper into those quantitative survey results and we saw themes emerging for those conversations with marketers, we began to see that getting the timing right was an increasingly important element of marketing strategy for those leaders. And from the research, Bain started to map out a maturity curve of 4 stages of marketing efficiency and effectiveness. So if better customer understanding and reach was a top goal, what did it take to advance along that curve? Well, first and foremost, as you may have heard throughout several sessions at Google Marketing Live, it really starts with getting your data house in order. That requires breaking down organizational silos, even technology silos, to uncover what first-party information you have, what's available to you, and getting that in a usable and structured format so that you can start to uncover customer insights. And that second stage is where you're using that first-party information and you're really getting into segmentation. You're trying to identify those high-value audiences. And as you're working on that deeper engagement with customers, what we saw is that knowing your audience well and engaging them will only raise your returns so far. Because it was those marketers who figured out how to deliver value and assist customers at the precise moments of need that were taking bigger leaps forward in performance. And time, it turns out, is key to getting over that hump in this marketing maturity curve. Because marketers who were able to increase their speed from insight to action, the ones that really mastered the art of driving timely customer connections, they were the ones that started to achieve greater growth and see real bottom line impact. So that third phase that we're showing right here is when marketers start asking questions and adjusting strategies based on customer signals. They're the ones that are also making organizational changes to create faster feedback loops. And they're playing time to their advantage by using technology to help them get those more tailored messages to customers out there faster. The final stage of this maturity curve is where we saw those leading marketers really leaning into intelligence and machine learning to help them scale, optimize, personalize, and automate their work. So as you can see, speed and timing are very critical themes. But another key finding that came out of our research with Bain, and something that we see in our work with Google customers, is that leading marketers also share characteristics or key behaviors and ways of working in common. This really helps them advance their data-driven transformations. Number one, these leaders own their digital destiny. They take control over connecting their data sources and integrating their tech stack, and they're hiring the right talent into key roles. They're also making sure that they're asking the right questions about what's possible and what will drive the business forward. Second, we saw that leaders test and learn. They're creating cultures of experimentation, and they make big bets so that they can share their learnings beyond the digital teams. So we know that timely data is critical to acting in the now. Why would you only pull reports and look at past performance when you can look at that real-time data and use insights to propel the business forward? And then third, we saw that leaders have faster decision making. And a lot of that speed in decision making is because they have more control. What we saw with control was that that could come in the means of bringing your technology in-house within the marketing organization. Or control also comes into play where we saw the CMO making those ad tech decisions and MarTech decisions. Or perhaps they had greater control over the organization, such as brand and performance teams, analytics, or even customer insights reporting to them. So let's dig into the numbers behind that a little bit more. How do we know that leaders are owning their digital destiny? Well, the research with Bain showed that leaders are more likely than laggards to prioritize their platforms. They are 1.6 times more likely to prioritize integration. And more than that, they're also 1.2 times more likely to be more proficient users of their technology. And that more advanced user is really allowing them to extract greater value from their tech stack. When it comes to testing and learning, leaders are 1.7 times more likely than laggards to refresh their critical marketing metrics. So I ask all of you, when was the last time you refreshed the data in your dashboards or key reports? And if you know that answer off the top of your head, then you're probably well on your way to becoming a leader. But more than that, in addition to timely data, we saw that leaders, again, the top 20% of performers, were also 1.4 times more likely to always make budget decisions based on metrics. I'll repeat that. 1.4 times more likely to always make budget decisions informed by metrics and insights. And those marketing leaders who are making faster decisions because they have more control, they were 1.4 times more likely than laggards to say that they were managing their marketing technology within the marketing organization today. But as we ask them to look forward, what happens in 3 years' time? That number increases, and then leaders say they are 2 times more likely to be managing marketing technology within that marketing organization. And as we expand on that, take it a little further, we also saw that element of control and the role that marketing executives are playing in their MarTech and AdTech vendor decisions. Leading marketers, it turned out, were 1.7 times more likely to say that their CMO was making those ad tech and MarTech decisions. While in the laggard organizations, they were more likely to say that the chief financial officer or perhaps the CTO or CIO was making those decisions. And if you think about control, that's really what it's all about, right? Because if you have to go to another organization to get approval or final buy-in on making a decision, that can slow things down and be a barrier to your success. And so speaking of barriers, the last bit of research that I want to share with you is when we asked marketers to answer the question, what's holding you back? And since we have a global audience here, I'm wondering if you see some of your own struggles reflected on the screen behind me. In Europe, marketers ranked slow decision-making as a top barrier to their success. Lack of cross-channel measurement and insufficient budget rounded out their top challenges. And that budget challenge also was reported as a top struggle for marketers in Australia and Japan. Japan also highlighted that slow decision-making and organizational silos were a challenge for them. And then here in North America, we saw marketers reporting that they were struggling with that lack of cross-channel measurement, but they were also struggling because they had a lack of understanding of long-term customer value and lack of right talent, which I know many of us face. But how are companies overcoming these struggles? How are they breaking ahead and becoming those leading organizations? Well, now I want to share with you a few stories of some of our Google customers to bring these insights to life, a few of you who are here with us this week. First, let me ask with a show of hands, how many of you saw that awesome Adidas video during yesterday's keynote? Excellent. Well, as you saw, Adidas has really transformed their culture, and they've put consumer insights front and center. That's allowed them to bring their brand and performance teams together around the shared insights So it's helped them not only inform their brand storytelling and what videos and content to produce, but the Adidas team is also using those consumer insights to inform their campaign strategy and their digital approach. And sport happens at all hours, right? So if Adidas sees one of their players scoring a triple-double, or perhaps more timely for this week, scoring a goal, they know that they need to get the right message and creative out there quickly. And they embraced using Google Marketing Platform to help them deliver those messages when a moment in sport is happening. Next, let's look at Cebu Pacific. They are the largest airline in the Philippines, and they fly over 20 million passengers a year to 100 routes across the Philippines and rest of Asia. And their marketing team started to see that consumers were showing interest in two of their key priority international routes, Japan and Singapore. But the team also saw that they were not delivering relevant creative that supported those customer interests. So the team at Cebu Pacific used Google Marketing Platform to automatically tailor their ads with more relevant images, and they were able to deliver them at a more relevant time based on the context of the content people were reading online. More than that, Cebu further reduced friction in that consumer journey by allowing people to search for fares directly within the ad creative unit. So that dramatically decreased the time from destination discovery to fare searching, and it helped them increase click-through rate by 134%, ultimately helping them sell more seats and fill those planes. The team also was able to reduce the time to deliver creative by 60%, which allowed them to refocus those efforts towards more strategic activities and collaboration with partners. And then next up is Sprint. In the telecom industry, providers are competing for customer loyalty, and they're trying to prevent customers from switching to other providers. But rather than me tell you the Sprint story, I think we should hear from them. So please take a look at this.
The telecom industry today is, I don't know, I want to use the word cutthroat, but everyone is constantly going after that next customer. And so it's a lot of fun to be in it, and that keeps us at the top of our game.
It's really important that we're using effective digital marketing tactics, or we're repeatedly telling customers what makes Sprint different and valuable.
The customer journey is super important when you think about online and offline, and bringing the media buying in-house really enabled us to have full end-to-end control of the customer journey. We now have data scientists sitting side by side with bid managers, sitting side by side with creatives, all working together to make decisions in near real time. Hallway conversations can make huge differences now in how we go to market. And Google Marketing Platform is our command center. It's the one place that we go every day to find out what's going on with our strategies, with our insights, and with our customers.
It's really an ability for us to connect our audience insights, our attribution insights into one platform. Now we're at a point where we can look at multiple touch points in that consumer's journey to make smarter investment decisions day in and day out.
With all the signals that we have, we were able to narrow it down to a few that mattered most. So we can now message those customers before they get to thinking about churning and really make sure that they're having a great experience. We were able to reduce the customer's propensity to churn by 10%.
So I see a few familiar faces in here from Sprint. Do we have anyone in the audience from Adidas or Cebu Pacific? Well, I'll shine a further spotlight on the Sprint team and say that they're here. So if you have questions or want to share strategies with them, please connect at the next break. But for the rest of you, what I wanted to do is just recap. What are those 3 ways that we see leading marketers redefining time? Well, again, these leaders are owning their digital destiny. They're taking control of the information and data available to their organization and making sure that they're integrating sources and integrating their tech stack to uncover those valuable customer insights. Second, we see that they're experimenting. So keep experimenting and go beyond the A/B test to really look at your performance data and your customer insights and ask big questions and take a bet that can have material impact on your business. Or you could take a page from the likes of Sprint, whose chief digital officer has shared that he carves out 20% of his budget for that kind of testing and learning. And then third, gain control. Find ways to break down silos in your organization and speed up decision making. We believe those are 3 key ways that marketers like you can redefine time and get ahead to deliver a more relevant customer experience at the right moment. So if you want to read more about the research that we did with Bain or see other examples of what customers are doing differently to get their timing right, you can download the full Bain report for free at g.co/timelyconnections. Or if few of you have some conference fidget spinners on your seats, the URL is on there as well. But thank you so much for your time and joining me for this session. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.